In American history, there have been a few men who weren't supposed to make it. They were mocked, attacked, underestimated, even sabotaged. But against the odds, they rose to the highest office in the land. Let's look at some of the most unconventional presidents the United States has ever seen, and how they turned rejection into revolution. Donald Trump's political rise was a seismic shock to the system. In 2015, he stormed into the presidential race as a brash outsider, dismissed by pundits, mocked by comedians, and scorned by the political class. The media labeled him a sideshow. Elites in both parties sneered. Yet Trump didn't just defy expectations, he obliterated them. He rewrote the political playbook, replacing carefully crafted speeches and focus group-tested slogans with raw, unfiltered messaging. His campaign rallies looked nothing like traditional town halls. They were massive, high-energy events that felt more like sporting spectacles than political functions. Reporters laughed, networks rolled their eyes, but something was happening. Voters were listening. Behind the scenes, Republican insiders scrambled to stop him. They whispered about brokered conventions and changing delegate rules. They leaked stories to the press, floated alternative candidates, and prayed he would implode. But every scandal, every insult, every so-called misstep only seemed to make him stronger. His unapologetic style and total rejection of political correctness struck a nerve with millions of Americans. Trump's message of border security, economic nationalism, and putting American workers first drew huge support from the industrial heartland. Many of these voters had never supported a Republican before, but they believed Trump was different. And in November 2016, Trump stunned the world. He flipped longtime blue states like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. The political class didn't see it coming. Most polls were wrong. Most pundits were humiliated. Trump had pulled off one of the biggest political upsets in modern American history. In 2020, Trump received over 74 million votes, more than any sitting president in U.S. history. Despite that, he lost to Joe Biden. The election was followed by months of legal battles, audits, and controversy. Trump never conceded in the traditional sense, and his base never left his side. Then in 2024, he launched a comeback campaign. This time older, battle-hardened, and more strategic. He promised to finish what he started. His message was familiar but sharpened. Stop the invasion at the border, bring back American manufacturing, and drain what he now called the deep state. He won. Now in 2025, Donald Trump is back in the White House, and he's moving fast. Within months, he signed a series of aggressive executive orders. He reinstated hardline immigration policies, expanded travel bans to include more than a dozen countries, and ordered mass deportations of undocumented migrants. Trade tensions with China escalated again, and the administration began rolling back diversity, equity, and inclusion programs across federal agencies. His critics haven't gone away. Protests, lawsuits, and global backlash continue, but his base remains solid. Among them, Trump isn't just a president. He's a symbol of rebellion, resilience, and resistance to elite rule. Long before Trump, there was Andrew Jackson, a tough, unfiltered war hero with a deep distrust of Washington elites. Born into poverty, orphaned as a teenager, and scarred from the Revolutionary War, Jackson had no formal education and didn't come from a well-connected family. He earned fame on the battlefield, especially in the Battle of New Orleans, and he was seen as a symbol of raw American grit. But when he ran for president in 1824, something strange happened. He won the most electoral and popular votes, but didn't become president. Congress handed the presidency to John Quincy Adams in what Jackson called a corrupt bargain. Jackson never forgot the betrayal. 4 years later, he came back with a vengeance, crushed Adams, and declared war on the establishment. He opposed the National Bank, fired entrenched officials, and pushed policies that favored the working class over the wealthy class. Washington hated him. Critics called him a tyrant. Newspapers compared him to a king, but the people loved him. He rewrote the rules of politics, and his legacy shaped the Democratic Party for generations. His portrait still hangs in the Oval Office, including during Trump's term, as a symbol of rebellion against the elite. Abraham Lincoln didn't come from money or privilege. He was born in a log cabin in Kentucky, worked as a farm laborer, rail splitter, and shopkeeper before teaching himself law by candlelight. No Ivy League credentials, no family dynasty, just a sharp mind and a deep sense of right and wrong. When he debated Stephen Douglas in 1858, Lincoln was ridiculed for his lanky appearance, rural accent, and lack of polish. Elite newspapers laughed at the idea that someone like him could be president, but Lincoln's speeches were something else. Powerful, moral, and unforgettable. He called slavery a national sin and said the country could not remain half slave, half free. This put him at odds with powerful interests, including members of his own Republican Party who wanted compromise. By the time he won the presidency in 1860, 7 southern states had already decided to secede. The system was broken, but Lincoln stayed firm. Through a brutal civil war, political sabotage, and assassination threats, he refused to compromise on his vision of unity and freedom. Jimmy Carter was a peanut farmer from Georgia, a one-term governor with no national profile. After the corruption and scandal of Watergate, Watergate, Americans didn't want another career politician. Carter promised something simple: honesty. When he announced his candidacy in 1974, most Americans didn't even know who he was. His campaign strategy was unique: go door to door, speak in churches, sleep in strangers' homes, and avoid the big city political circus. It worked. He defeated Washington insiders like George Wallace and Scoop Jackson in the primaries, then beat Gerald Ford in the general election. But being different also came at a cost. Carter clashed with Congress, struggled with inflation, and faced a humiliating hostage crisis in Iran. Still, behind the scenes, Carter brokered the Camp David Accords, a peace deal between Egypt and Israel that's still respected today. Ronald Reagan was a Hollywood actor before he was ever taken seriously in politics. He was the face of General Electric, hosted television shows, and starred in westerns. When he started giving political speeches, the media treated him like a lightweight. But Reagan had a gift. He could speak plainly and connect emotionally. Behind the charm was a man with strong conservative convictions. As governor of California, he fought student radicals and stood against growing government power. When he ran for president, the Republican elite backed others: George H.W. Bush, Gerald Ford, even Nixon-era bureaucrats. But Reagan beat them all, winning 44 states in 1980. He took office during an economic crisis, a hostage disaster, and Cold War tension. But by the end of his term, the economy was booming, the military was strong, and the Soviet Union was weakening. Reagan wasn't just a performer, he was a strategist. He knew how to go over the heads of reporters and speak directly to the American people. And in the end, even his critics had to admit, the man who once played cowboys in movies became one of the most consequential presidents of the 20th century.